Last year, Polaris, Ski-Doo, and Arctic Cat combined sold 92,387 worldwide. And that's counting Yamaha's final run too. Worldwide. Total. That's it. And the sport didn't die because of warm winters. It died because of us. Not the manufacturers. Not the government. Not climate change. I mean us, the riders, the clubs, the community. We had the greatest winter sport in North American history in our hands, the trails, the machines, the culture, and we let it rot from the inside out. And if you've been blaming someone else this whole time, this is going to be a hard watch. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how we got here. The landowner betrayal that's been running for 20 years. Why one of the sport's founding manufacturers just walked away after 57 years. And I'll give you 3 things you can actually do this week that can slow this down. Stay with me. At the peak of this sport, snowmobiling wasn't a niche hobby. It wasn't a weekend thing for a small group of enthusiasts. It was an industry. Between 1967 and 1971, sales tripled, then tripled again. By 1970, more than 100 manufacturers were building sleds in North America. John Deere got in. Mercury Marine, the outboard motor company, built the Snow Twister. Sears sold sleds out of their catalog like they were lawnmowers. J.C. Penney had their own branded machines. Even Harley-Davidson got into it. More than 100 companies thought this market was big enough to fight over. And the infrastructure that grew around those machines? Enormous. By the late 1980s, Michigan's Upper Peninsula had over 4,000 miles of maintained, groomed trail. Minnesota had 22,000 miles of marked routes. Wisconsin was at 25,000. This wasn't funded by government or corporate sponsors. They were built by you, by your dad, trail clubs, volunteer grooming crews out at 4 a.m., landowner negotiations that took years to earn and could be lost in an afternoon. That infrastructure is what made this sport what it was. Not the machines, the access. And here's where the story turns uncomfortable, because we started losing that access, and the primary reason wasn't the government and it wasn't the weather, it was us. In most snowbelt states, over 60% of groomed snowmobile trails run across private land. Not federal forest, not state park, private farms, timber operations, ranch property. Those landowners didn't have to give us access. They chose to because riders respected the agreement. Stay on the marked trail. Don't touch the fence line. Stay off the access road during mud season. Simple rules. Rules that held for decades. Then they started breaking. One angry farmer there. A landowner who found an ATV track through his winter wheat field and couldn't tell the difference between a snowmobile and a quad tearing it up in October. And this makes me angry as well. A lot of those trail closures, the ones that killed snowmobile access, were triggered by ATVers riding winter-only trails in the summer and fall when the agreement said they were closed. The landowner doesn't know who did it. He just knows someone ripped up his property. And when the snowmobile club comes back in November to re-sign the corridor agreement, the answer is no. And one closure doesn't stay local. One closure prompts neighboring landowners to reconsider their own agreements. The club tries to reroute. Riders ignore the reroute and cut across someone else's land. That landowner closes too. It's called a domino effect, and it's been running quietly in every snowbelt state for 20 years. The organizations that were supposed to police this lost the membership to do it. The clubs that were supposed to build those landowner relationships stopped having enough people to staff the outreach. Because riders stopped joining, stopped volunteering, paid their trail pass, showed up on the weekend, and went home. I'll say it directly, we outsourced the maintenance of this culture to a shrinking group of people and then wondered why the infrastructure was shrinking. Right now, about 85% of registered snowmobilers claim club membership. There are roughly 1.3 million registered snowmobiles in the United States. 85% of a shrinking pie means the total number of active club members is falling every year, even as the percentage stays high. And the work those clubs have to do? It doesn't shrink. It grows. Trail grooming, landowner outreach, grant applications for groomer equipment, permit renewals with the Forest Service and state DNR, safety program administration. All of it falling on the same group of guys who showed up in 1989 and are still doing it in 2026 at 68 years old. When those men stop, the trails stop. And it's already happening if you noticed. Minnesota, one of the most critical snowmobile states in the country, with over 22,000 miles of marked trail, is currently fighting legislation that would close 4.2 million acres of state forest to snowmobiles. That's an active bill moving through the state legislature right now in 2026. The people fighting it are the same people who have been fighting every access battle for 40 years. The same volunteers, the same small clubs, the same aging membership. And most of the riders those trails were built for, they don't even know this is happening. Quick pause. If this is waking you up, hit the like button. It helps more riders find this conversation. Let's keep going and talk about the machine itself. In 2000, a top-of-the-line 600 class trail sled, fully competitive, Polaris or Ski-Doo, something an enthusiast actually wanted, cost $6,599. In 2024, a Ski-Doo MXZ XRS 850 Turbo R with the full competition package costs $22,199. Now, before you say inflation and technology, stop. A 236% price increase in 24 years on a product that lost most of its entry-level volume? Come on, that's not how it works. In the mid-1990s, Polaris was manufacturing over 40,000 units of a single model, the XLT, in a single model year. 40,000 of one sled. By 2010, most manufacturers were producing fewer total machines per year than Polaris once made of that one model alone. When your fixed costs, tooling, engineering, materials, manufacturing overhead, have to be spread across a fraction of the previous volume, each sled has to carry a much heavier financial burden. Prices go up. That scares away new buyers. Volume falls further. Prices go up again. And here's where this spiral ends up. BRP, the company behind Ski-Doo, cut snowmobile production by 30% in a single year just to drain unsold inventory sitting on dealer lots across Canada and the US. We all know about Yamaha. Been there since 1968. They announced their exit in 2023, sold their last snowmobiles in 2025. After 57 years, gone. Right now, there are 3 snowmobile manufacturers left. Not 4, 3. And who gets locked out first by all of this? The 18-year-old who walks into a dealer and sees $8,000 as the floor for an adult sled and $15,000 for the one he actually wants. He buys an Xbox instead. And you know what? You can't blame him. Nobody built him an entry point. Nobody said, here's a $1,200 used 2002 ZR 600 that'll give you the full experience for 3 seasons while you save up. Nobody mentored him into the sport because we were too busy having the same arguments on snowmobile forums about which brand is better instead of actually getting new people on sleds. The average age of a snowmobiler in the United States is now 54. Some surveys put it closer to 63. Back in 2010, it was 40. And participation among riders aged 18 to 34 has dropped 12% since then, even during the years when snowfall was actually good. That's not a weather problem. That's a succession problem. We failed to pass this on. Now, before you type it in the comments, yes, the snow situation is real. The northern United States has lost 34% of its snowpack since the 1960s. Average snow cover duration across the northern hemisphere has decreased by 12 days since 1972. That's real. I'm not dismissing it. But when the winters were bad in 2016 and 2017, the sport bounced back sharply in 2018 and 2019 when the snow came. Registrations went up, ridership went up. The trails filled back in. Snow came back, and the riders came back. But the trail access that was lost during those bad years, it didn't come back. The landowners who pulled permission during the closure period, some of them never reopened. The club members who drifted away during the brown winters, some of them found other things to do and didn't return. The snow is a variable. It will fluctuate. Good years and bad years, always been that way. But the structural problems, aging demographics, dying clubs, the pricing wall, eroding access, those stay whether it snows or not. When the next great snow year finally comes, those problems will still be right there waiting. The question is whether there's still enough infrastructure left to take advantage of it. If nothing changes, if the trail clubs keep losing members, if the youth entry problem stays unsolved, if the pricing spiral continues, here's where this ends. Groomed trail mileage continues to shrink. Every closure is permanent. Landowners who close one trail don't reopen for the next generation of riders. They put up a gate and move on. Minnesota's SF1245 passes. 4.2 million acres of public land access gets tied up in litigation for a decade while the trails grow over. Average sled prices keep climbing as production volumes fall further and fewer companies share the fixed costs. The gap between what a beginner can afford and what's actually for sale new becomes unbridgeable. The average rider age hits 65. The grooming volunteers who built this infrastructure retire one by one, not with announcements or celebrations, just by stopping. And the trails they groomed stop too. We already watched Yamaha make the math and walk away from 57 years of history. If that doesn't tell you how serious this is, I don't know what will. And some of those trails, the ones your father rode, the ones you rode with your kids, will close not with any announcement, just a locked gate some November morning and a letter from a landowner who got tired of waiting for a community that stopped showing up. That's not a nightmare scenario. That is the trajectory we're on right now in 2026. But I don't think that's inevitable. And here's why. You can simply do these three things. None of them require a new sled. One, rejoin your local snowmobile club or join one for the first time. Not the National Association, the local club. The one with 12 guys who are 67 years old and groom your trails every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. before you get out of bed. They don't need your money as much as they need your presence. Show up for one trail work weekend. You'll learn more about this community in 4 hours than you did in 4 years of riding alone. Two, if you ride trails that cross private land, and in most snowbelt states you do, introduce yourself to one landowner this season. Not by text, come on. In person, drive over. Say you ride the trail across their property and you want to say thank you. Landowners give access to people they trust. Trust is built face-to-face, not on a trail map. Three, get one young person on a sled this winter. Not necessarily your own kid, though that's great. But any young person in your circle who's shown any interest. Take them out on a short trail run. Let them feel what this is. The pricing wall is real, and we can't fix it immediately. But the exposure barrier, you can fix that for free with a gas tank in an afternoon. The manufacturers aren't going to save this sport. We already have the proof. One of them just left. The government isn't going to save this sport. We built this. We let it slide. And the only people positioned to pull it back are the ones who still ride, who still remember what it was, and who still care enough to do something other than complain about it online. That's us. That's still us. But that window's closing. Drop a comment. What's the last great winter you remember on the trails? And if you know a club near you that's struggling to keep going, share this video with them. That's how this reaches the people who need to hear it. If this is the kind of honest content you're looking for, hit subscribe, like, small channel. Every single subscriber matters to me. Check out the next video right here.